Hey guys, Robo here, and I'm glad to finally be able to welcome you guys back to the next Splatoon 2 video. It's been a long awaited episode, but I will show you guys how I made this special lamp styled like a Splat-bomb from the game. And at the end of the episode, I will be announcing a special giveaway to celebrate not only the 50 subscriber milestone, but also the one for their 100 subscribers. So, let's begin. First, I wanted to start with the core of the Splat-bomb. For this, I made a guiding cut for 4 triangles of 10 centimeters. Then I cut these out with my scroll saw. And I sanded these with an angled edge on the belt sander. Then I attached them together with some pieces of tape, but because I wanted the container to be filled, I cut with an X-Acto knife a waveline in the protective film of the pieces to be painted over with the exposed areas. This will make it so that when I take the protective film off, it will have a really nice sharp edge. After this, I glued them together with some clear hot glue and a soldered hole in the bottom for the light to come through. But this went not as expected, because in the end, it did not fit. So it was time for version 3.0. With version 3.0, I started to make the base, which I wanted to resemble a piece of asphalt from crossing roads in a Couples Plaza. So I made this form from some plastic board and taped them together to easily take them apart later. Because if I used glue or screws, it would have been much harder first of all to make it and then take it apart later. Then I filled in the complete bottom and then I put in a piece of cardboard in the middle to save material and weight. I filled it up until it had a height of 5 centimeters and then I let it dry as described on the packaging. After it had dried, I took the mold off and took some time to take off all the silicone that I had put in the edges to prevent the form from leaking. After I had cleaned up the whole thing, I taped the surface with painter's tape and cut out the crossing road pieces. After I had completed this, I went over the parts with white and yellow acrylic paints. And later I also went over this with some black paint because the natural color of the cement was not to my liking. After I had completed the part of the painting, I drilled a hole in the middle of the base with a stone drill and tried to enlarge it with a spade bit. Yeah, so I quickly stepped over to a hand scroll saw, chisel and a file and made the hole large enough for the socket of the lamp to be able to fit. Next I started on the main part of the replica, the Splat-bomb. For this I had already measured out and cut the dowels to the lengths of 16.5 cm and 22 cm. So next I had to cut out a piece of MDF with a diameter of 5 cm and sanded chamfers on this to be able to be used on the top of the replica. I also sanded chamfers on the top pieces of the upper supports of the replica. Next I had to cut out a piece of 5 cm long 3x3 beam and sanded this on the belt sander to be used as the corner pieces of the Splat-bomb. I also had to do this twice because the Splat-bomb had 2 visible corners. But because I still had the belt sander running, I also grabbed the new core pieces and sanded the angled edges on these as well. But this process left a bit of residue behind on the pieces, so I used my X-Acto knife to cut these off. After I cleaned off my workspace of wood and plastic residue, I cut and glued the decorative pieces with 1mm EVA foam on the supports of the Splat-bomb. But wait, we need 2! Or was it free? But after this I had to glue out the edges of the core with some painter's tape to make gluing easier. But since I still had everything being able to lie flat, I used a whiteboard marker to draw on the wave lines like the previous ones, but before I turned the pieces around with the inside facing me and cut away the film like before. But for this one with the paints I wanted to use white because I wanted to get a lamp that can change color, so I will be able to represent multiple ink colors. But the paint needed to be applied first before the glue up. After the glue had dried, I used my hot glue gun to attach this to the socket of the lamp, and I had the lamp already in to make sure it would be able to fit. In the meantime, I assembled the rest of the supports on the lamp and I finished on this design. With this, I'm still able to take off the top, so now that we have the body done, it's time for some paints, starting with a hot pink. After this had dried, I attached paint tape to all the pink spots that I needed to keep. And in some places this was very hard and or tedious to do. Next up for the spray paints was purple. And when this had dried, I removed the tape to reveal all the nice fresh pink parts. After the paint, I drilled a small hole in the supports and a larger hole into the concrete. Then I took a washer and a screw and I used these to attach the 3 supports to the base. After I had attached the supports, I went back and I painted the hinges of the front support beams green. And I also did the same for the hinges on the lid. Next, I grabbed some air drying clay and used this to make the large ink splatter on the base of the Splat-bomb that it has sunken into. I first made a base around the socket because I wanted this to be covered very well in the end. And next I started to enlarge the pool around the supports. After I had made a well enough base, I went over it all with a wet hand and smoothed the surface as flat and as smooth as possible. Next I started to work on the waves in the ink. And not to forget some droplets of the initial ink splatter that landed around the pool. And in the end, I also added some upright splatter from the Splat-bomb for some extra effect. While the clay dried, I continued on the top by adding some white to the ends of the Splat-bomb. Same for the central piece. But that wasn't the only part that needed white, because I also added black to the concrete to give it a more asphalt look. But since I did this, I also needed to go over the base again with some white and yellow. After some more layers of white and yellow, I already started to paint the ink a light blue. But I was still able to show some layers being put on, because it eventually needed around 5 to 7 layers. After the blue, I continued with some natural green on the ends of the Splat-bomb to finish off that piece. And when all the painting was done, it was time to attach the core. For this, I made some 2 cm strips of acrylic and heated these with my heat gun and bended them around an extra piece of dowel to get the clear fasteners. And I needed 3 of these for the smaller dowels and 3 for the larger dowels. For the final step, I first took off the protective film. Second, I heated up the ends of the fasteners. And as the third step, I pressed the heated ends to the lid to make a perfect fit. And I repeated this for all 3. But the heating messed up the hinges a bit, so I first needed to repair that before I can add the PVC glue to attach it. But before I can add the projects, I need to add some felt to the bottom of the base so it doesn't scratch up my table. And with some good old duct tape to hold the wire in place. And with this final step, I can finally pronounce the Splatlamp project officially done. Hey Creator Gears, Robo here, and we hope you liked this return to our Splatoon projects. But as we promised in the beginning, we also wanted to do a giveaway for all the support you guys have given us. And you can probably see where this is going, because we are going to do a giveaway for the chance to win your very own Splatlamp. For this you can sign up with the Google form we have put in the description, as well as a list of rules of the contest. For this you need to be 18 years old or have your parents help you sign up. This giveaway is for all over the world, but for countries farther away from me, we do need some extra compensation for the shipping costs. This giveaway will end on the 12th of June on 12 PM Central European Standard Time. We hope you enjoyed the video and we will see you in the next one. Keep those creative gears turning. Bye bye!